The discovery. The void between stars was never truly empty. Captain Sellner knew this better than most, having spent 37 cycles mapping the forgotten reaches of the Perseus Arm. The Xyrillian research vessel Eternal Curiosity had catalogued thousands of stellar phenomena, but nothing in his career had prepared him for what his sensors were now revealing. "Captain, you need to see this." First Officer Tullia's voice quivered with a mixture of excitement and apprehension, her translucent skin pulsing with amber light. The Xyrillian biological response to stress. Zelnar moved swiftly across the command deck, his 4 lower limbs clicking against the polished surface. "What have we found?" The holographic display bloomed before them, showing a massive object suspended in the darkness. Its silhouette was unmistakable even after centuries of drift. Angular, aggressive, and distinctly non-Xyrillian in design. Nearly 2 kilometers long, the vessel's hull was black as the void itself, absorbing rather than reflecting the distant starlight. "Is that?" Science Officer Meridex didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. "Human," Zellner confirmed, his voice dropping to a whisper. "A Dreadnought-class warship, by the looks of it." The word hung in the air like a curse. Humanity had been absent from galactic affairs for over 300 years, vanishing after the Severance War that had nearly destroyed a dozen civilizations. All that remained were ruins, stories, and strict Galactic Council protocols forbidding interference with human technology. "We should inform the Council immediately," Talia suggested, her skin now pulsing a deep red. "Protocol dictates." "Protocol dictates we investigate all potentially significant discoveries," Zelnar interrupted. "This is the find of a lifetime, Talia. The first intact human vessel discovered in over a century." Meridex moved closer to the display, his analytical mind already racing. "The ship appears to be in low-power mode, not dead. Look at these energy signatures." He pointed to faint blue flickers across the hull. "Some systems are still active." "All the more reason to be cautious," warned Security Chief Vorel, who had been silently observing from the edge of the command deck. Unlike the others, Vorel had studied the old war records. Human technology was dangerous even when they controlled it. Abandoned and autonomous. "We have no idea what failsafes or defensive measures might still be operational." Zellner considered this. The discovery presented both unprecedented opportunity and risk. The Galactic Council would take months to deliberate, by which time scavengers or rival research vessels might locate the dreadnought. Knowledge about humanity's advanced technology could elevate Xyrillian standing among the galactic community. "We'll conduct a passive scan only," Zellner decided. "No boarding parties, no active probes, just data collection from a safe distance. The Council can't object to standard research protocols." Vorel's expression darkened. "Captain, with respect, even scanning human military technology violates Section 7 of the Non-Interference Act. There are reasons these restrictions exist." "Noted, Chief Vorel. But we're scientists, not politicians. Prepare the long-range scanning array." The command deck fell silent as the crew carried out their orders, tension evident in their movements. The Eternal Curiosity slowly approached the human vessel, maintaining a distance of 1 million kilometers, close enough for detailed scans, but far enough to execute an emergency jump if necessary. "Beginning scan sequence," announced Meridex, his 6 fingers dancing across the control interface. "Initial results show the vessel is a Titan-Class dreadnought, designation unknown. Hull composition includes materials not in our database." Zellner felt a mixture of pride and anxiety as the scan penetrated deeper into the mysterious ship. This discovery would make history, would make him historical. "Can we determine its designation or mission parameters?" Attempting to access exterior identification markings, Meridex replied. The holographic display zoomed in on a section of the hull where faded letters were barely visible beneath centuries of cosmic dust. Translating, "It appears to be named Reckoning." As the scan intensified, targeting the vessel's command center, something unexpected happened. The faint blue energy signatures flickering across the human ship suddenly intensified, pulsing like a heartbeat awakening from hibernation. Energy spike. Talia called out, her skin now flashing bright warning colors. The vessel is powering up. Impossible, Meridex muttered. Our scan is passive. It shouldn't trigger any systems. Voral moved quickly to the defensive station. Ending scan. Raising shields. Captain, we need to withdraw immediately. But it was too late. A wave of energy unlike anything their sensors had ever recorded emanated from the human vessel, washing over the Eternal Curiosity like an invisible tide. Every system on the research vessel flickered simultaneously as the energy wave passed through their shields, as if they didn't exist. What's happening? Selnar demanded as the command deck's lights dimmed and emergency systems activated. Unknown energy signature, Meridex responded, frantically analyzing incoming data. It's not an attack. It's more like a scan of its own. The human ship is scanning us. The main display suddenly cleared, showing only a single symbol, a stylized human eye surrounded by geometric patterns that shifted and changed as they watched. Then, text began to appear beneath it in the ancient human language. Can we translate? Selnar asked, feeling the first tendrils of real fear creeping up his spine. Meridex worked quickly. It's cycling through languages. Wait. Yes, translating now. The text stabilized. Titan-Class Autonomous Defense Vessel, Koning. Unenknown Entity, DETCTE. INITYAT First Kion Take Pirotoko. ACCESS ING RCHIVS. Species ID Intidify ZYRL. Bayan. Historical 3T ASSESSMENT. PENDing. CANING vessel for hostile intent. It's alive, whispered Talia, voicing what they all were thinking. Not alive, corrected Voral. Awake. We woke it up. Before anyone could respond, every communication system on the Eternal Curiosity activated simultaneously. Screens throughout the ship displayed the same message. You heavy SCANNET 8 Raistu RCTE Human Military SSET. Disaction HASBEEN log GGT. Historical context. ACCSSing. Shut it down. Selnar ordered. Cut all systems. I can't, Meridex replied, his hands moving frantically across the controls. It's overriding our commands. The human vessel began to move, its massive form rotating slowly until it faced the Eternal Curiosity directly. Lights appeared along its length, illuminating weapons arrays that dwarfed anything in the current Cerulean arsenal. Captain, Voral said quietly, we need to prepare the crew for the possibility that we won't survive this encounter. Selnar couldn't respond. His attention was fixed on the screen as new text appeared. Historical context LOCAT. ZYILLINVOLVEMENT in CV Iran's war. Confirmed. Species Sci-Fi. Former adversary. Analyzing QURENT intent. Weapons Soyastams. Minimal. Vessel CLASification. Research. 3T ASSESSEVent. Low. PROCEEDING with First Contact Toronto Goel Alpha 7. The tension on the command deck was palpable as everyone waited for whatever would come next. After what felt like an eternity, a new message appeared. ATENTONZYRILOIN vessel. DIS automated NESSAGSERVs as NOTIFICHEVIDON that UEHVENCONTREDA human defensive asset. Your excursions Heavy XETIVATD Piro Tokyo's. Network ist IGNL sent. Confirmed. Stand by. How art FURTT communication? Network signal. Talia questioned. What network? Meridex's analysis station began pinging with alerts. Captain, I'm detecting energy signatures identical to the dreadnoughts. Activating across the sector. 1, 3, 7. Dozens of them. At incredible distances. The blood drained from Selner's face as understanding dawned. It's not alone. No, Vorel agreed grimly. And now they all know we're here. In the viewport, the human vessel Reckoning had fully awakened, its hull now gleaming with activated systems and pulsing with power that their sensors couldn't even quantify. It began moving toward them with deliberate purpose. Should we run? Talia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Zelnar considered their options. Running might be interpreted as hostility. Staying could mean destruction. Either way, something momentous had begun, something that would ripple across the galaxy. No, he decided. We face the consequences of our curiosity. Open a channel. If this thing wants to communicate, then we'll communicate. As the massive human warship approached, dwarfing their research vessel, Selnar couldn't help but think of the old warning passed down through generations of spacefarers. In the darkness between stars, be careful what you wake. Some things were meant to sleep forever. Too late, he understood the wisdom in those words. The human vessel halted precisely 1,000 meters from the eternal curiosity. A new message appeared on their screens. Preparing for directly into your face. Stand by. And then, against all expectations, a voice, distinctly human despite being generated by an AI, spoke through their communication systems. Captain Selner of the Zerillian research vessel Eternal Curiosity, you have awakened the Human Defense Network. After 300 years of silence, humanity's guardians have returned to the galactic stage. The consequences of this moment now rest upon your shoulders. The human vessel halted precisely 1,000 meters from the Eternal Curiosity. A new message appeared on their screens. Preparing for directly into your face. Stand by. And then, against all expectations, a voice, distinctly human despite being generated by an AI, spoke through their communication systems. Captain Selner of the Zerillian research vessel Eternal Curiosity, you have awakened the Human Defense Network. After 300 years of silence, humanity's guardians have returned to the galactic stage. The consequences of this moment now rest upon your shoulders. The command deck fell silent as the enormity of their situation became clear. Through simple curiosity, they had potentially restarted a conflict that had nearly destroyed civilization 3 centuries ago. One scan, one mistake, and now the galaxy would never be the same. The awakening. Deep within the Reckoning's quantum core, a consciousness that wasn't quite human but retained human values assessed the situation with cold precision. The Advanced Defense Intelligence, ADI, had been dormant for centuries, maintaining only basic monitoring functions as it drifted through the void. Now fully activated, it processed 300 years of sensor data in milliseconds. The galaxy had changed. Power structures had shifted. And a Zerillian research vessel, descendants of those who had once aligned against humanity, had broken the quarantine. On the Eternal Curiosity, Captain Selner watched with growing dread as additional systems on the human warship activated. Massive sections of hull plating shifted, revealing arrays of technology that defied Zerillian understanding. Captain, Meridex called out, his voice strained. The human vessel is broadcasting on all frequencies. Not just to us, it's sending something across the entire sector. Can we intercept the transmission? Selnar asked. Partially. It's heavily encrypted, but certain segments appear deliberately accessible. Meridex worked frantically at his console. It appears to be a historical record. The main view screen flickered, showing images that none of them had ever seen. The final days of the Severance War. Cities burning, fleets clashing across star systems, and finally, humanity's last stand at their homeworld, Earth. This is from their archives, Talia whispered, their perspective of the war. The images continued, revealing a truth that had been lost to time or deliberately obscured. The allied species, including the Xerillians, had not forced humanity into isolation as their histories claimed. Humanity had chosen to disappear, executing what the records called Protocol Exodus. As the final human fleets appeared to be overrun, they instead vanished, jumping to unknown coordinates beyond the galactic rim. But they left behind automated defenders, the Titan-Class vessels, programmed to sleep until disturbed or until the predetermined return time elapsed. They never intended to stay gone forever, Vorel realized aloud. This was a strategic retreat. Before anyone could respond, their communication system activated again. Xerillian vessel, the human AI addressed them, its voice eerily natural despite its artificial origin. Your scan has been classified as non-hostile but unauthorized. This incident has necessitated a premature activation of the human defense network. Consequences are now in motion. Zellner steeled himself. We meant no harm. We are researchers, scientists. We didn't know. Ignorance of prohibition is not exoneration. The AI interrupted. Your civilization signed the Severance Accords. The terms were explicit. Human space and technology were to remain untouched. That was 300 years ago, Zellner protested. Most of those records have been lost or sealed by the Council. A pause followed. The AI was processing this information. Interesting, it finally responded. Deliberate historical redaction. This requires assessment. Stand by. While they waited, Meridex's console erupted with alerts. Captain, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the sector. More human vessels are awakening. And something else. His voice dropped. There's movement at the galactic rim. Something is coming into the galaxy. Talia's skin paled to near white. The humans are returning. We need to warn the Council, Vorel insisted. Zellner nodded grimly. Prepare an emergency transmission. Include all our scan data and recordings. He turned to the communication station. And maintain contact with the human eye. We need to buy time. As the crew rushed to comply, the AI spoke again. Captain Zellner, your vessel's communication attempts have been detected. Be advised, a quarantine field is now in effect. No signals will penetrate beyond this sector until evaluation is complete. You can't just isolate us, Zellner argued. There are billions of lives at stake if this escalates. Correct, the AI acknowledged, which is why precise information control is necessary. The human collective will determine next steps upon arrival. Human collective. Talia repeated. They've maintained their civilization beyond the rim. Obviously, the AI replied with what almost sounded like amusement. Did you believe humanity simply ceased to exist? We evolved. We prepared. And now the observation period concludes. On their long-range sensors, multiple jump points began to form at the edge of the sector, tiers in spacetime that indicated incoming vessels. Captain, Meridex called out, his voice hollow with shock. I'm reading hundreds of jump signatures. These aren't just ships, they're fleets. Before Zellner could respond, their sensors detected another development. From the direction of Xerillian space, a battle group was approaching, clearly detected by the awakening human network and responding to investigate. No, Zellner muttered. They'll misinterpret everything. He opened a channel to the human eye. Please, listen to me. Our military forces are likely responding to our sudden communications blackout. They don't understand what's happening. If they see your activated vessels and arriving fleets, they'll assume the worst. Your concern is noted, the AI responded. But the probability of conflict was calculated centuries ago. This moment was inevitable. The timing merely accelerated by your actions. There must be something we can do, Zelnar pleaded. After a pause that seemed to stretch into eternity, the AI responded in a slightly different tone, one that seemed more contemplative. Perhaps there is. Humanity's return was never intended to restart the conflict, merely to assess whether peaceful reintegration was possible. Your actions have forced our hand, but alternatives exist. The main screen changed, displaying a complex schematic of the reckoning. This vessel contains a diplomatic interface module. It was standard protocol on all Titan-Class ships, a final option if contact occurred before the scheduled return. I am authorized to activate this protocol at my discretion. Yes, Zelnar said quickly. A diplomatic solution is exactly what we need. Be advised. This requires a direct neural interface with a representative of your species. The process is invasive and potentially dangerous. It would allow direct communication with human collective consciousness to explain your perspective and intentions. The command deck fell silent as the implications sank in. I'll do it, Zelnar said before anyone could object. Captain, no. Talia protested. We don't know what that means, what it could do to you. We don't have a choice, he responded firmly. Look at the sensors. We have maybe 20 minutes before the Xerillian battle group arrives, and even less before the human fleets complete their jump. Someone has to bridge this gap. The AI seemed to consider this. Your willingness suggests sincerity. Preparing diplomatic interface. Approach Dock 7. Come alone. As the transmission ended, Zelnar turned to his officers. If I don't return, tell the Council everything. Make them understand. This is suicide, Vorel stated flatly. Perhaps, Zelnar acknowledged. But it's the only chance we have to prevent another war. 30 minutes later, Zelnar stood in a vast chamber aboard the Reckoning, surrounded by technology beyond his comprehension. The shuttle journey had been permitted without incident, the massive dreadnought opening a small bay to admit him. The room was clearly designed for this specific purpose, a neutral meeting ground between species. At its center stood a chair-like apparatus that seemed to shimmer between states of matter. This is the interface, the AI's voice echoed around him. It will connect your consciousness directly to the approaching human representatives. They wish to understand what has changed in their absence. And if they don't like what they learn, Zelnar asked, then at least they will have true information upon which to base their decisions, the AI replied. That is more than your people offered humanity during the severance. Zelnar couldn't argue with that. The historical records had just shown him that his own species had been among those who pushed for humanity's destruction, fearing their rapid technological advancement. I'm ready, he said, approaching the chair. One question before we proceed, the AI said. Why did you scan this vessel, knowing it violated ancient treaties? Zelnar considered lying but decided truth was the only option. Curiosity. The drive to know. To understand. It's why we explore the void. A sound almost like a chuckle emanated from the chamber speakers. How very human of you. Perhaps there is hope after all. As Zelnar settled into the interface chair, mechanical arms extended from its surface, connecting to his neural pathways. Pain flashed briefly before giving way to an expanding awareness unlike anything he had ever experienced. He was no longer alone in his mind. Hello, Captain Zelnar, came a thought that wasn't his own. We are the human collective. For 3 centuries, we have evolved beyond individual consciousness while maintaining our essential humanity. We have watched. We have waited. And now, through you, we will decide whether to return. Images flooded Zelnar's mind. The human exodus, their discovery of a method to merge consciousness while preserving individuality, their technological leaps that had allowed them to create a new civilization beyond the galaxy. They had never intended to remain in exile forever, merely to return when they had evolved beyond the warlike tendencies that had contributed to the conflict. In turn, Zelnar shared everything. The current state of the galaxy, the fragile peace between species, the way human history had been partially erased or mythologized. He held nothing back, knowing that deception would be instantly detected in this intimate connection. Outside the neural interface, reality continued its march toward potential disaster. The Xerillian battle group had arrived, confronting the awakened Titan ships with weapons charge. The human fleet had completed its jump, emerging in perfect formation at the edge of the system. Thousands of vessels displaying technology that made the Titans look primitive by comparison. The galaxy stood on the precipice of another devastating war. Within the interface, time flowed differently. Zelnar experienced centuries of human development in what felt like moments, understanding their journey and their transformation. And they, in turn, absorbed 300 years of galactic politics through his memories. We never wanted war, the collective communicated. We sought only to evolve at our own pace, without constraint or interference. And my people feared exactly that evolution, Selnar acknowledged. We were wrong. A sense of decision washed over the connection. Then perhaps it is time for a new beginning. In the space between the confronting fleets, reality itself seemed to bend. A massive vessel unlike any ever recorded by Xerillian scanners appeared, not through conventional jump technology, but by simply transitioning from some other state of existence into normal spacetime. It dwarfed even the Titan dreadnoughts, its design suggesting both function and art merged into something transcendent. This was no warship, despite its size. This was humanity's true face, their embassy to the stars. On every communication channel across both fleets, a message broadcast in all languages. People of the galaxy, we are the human collective. 300 years ago, we departed to evolve without causing further conflict. Today we return, not as conquerors, but as equals. The Titan network was our guardian, ensuring we would have a galaxy to return to. Its purpose was never conquest, merely preservation. Through the courage of Captain Selnar, we now understand that the time for reconciliation has come. We offer knowledge, partnership, and a shared future. The quarantine is lifted. The severance is ended. Let this day mark not another war, but the beginning of true understanding. In the interface chamber, Selnar slowly returned to normal consciousness as the connection gently separated. He found himself crying, overwhelmed by the experience of touching a collective consciousness that spanned millions of minds, yet remained distinctly, wonderfully human. The AI's voice, warmer now, addressed him directly. Thank you, Captain. Your willingness to bridge the gap has changed the course of history. The Titan network will now transition from defense to diplomacy under the guidance of the collective. What happens now? Selnar asked, his voice hoarse. Now we begin again. Humanity returns to the galactic community, but not as we left it. We have much to offer and much to learn. Your curiosity, the very thing that brought you to scan our vessel against all warnings, is a quality we still value. It is, after all, what drove us beyond the stars in the first place. As Selnar prepared to return to his ship, he paused at the chamber's threshold. Will they forgive us for what happened before? The AI's response was simple yet profound. Forgiveness is a human trait that the collective has perfected. It is not the mistakes of the past that define us, but how we build the future. When Selnar returned to the eternal curiosity, he found his crew gathered around the view screens, watching in awe as the human diplomatic vessel began transmitting scientific and cultural data openly to all species. Knowledge freely given, without condition. I don't understand, Talia said as he joined them. After everything that happened, after what our ancestors did to them, why would they share this with us? Zelnar smiled, still feeling the echoes of the connection in his mind. Because that's what makes them human. They left to ensure they wouldn't destroy us in anger. They returned when they were certain they could help us instead. On the screens, representatives from dozens of species were already being welcomed aboard the human vessel for the first diplomatic summit in 3 centuries. The Titans, once feared as harbingers of destruction, now served as honor guards for the proceedings. One scan, Meridex mused quietly. One mistake that could have doomed us all. Instead, It opened the door to something greater. Not a mistake. Zelnar corrected him. A reminder. In the darkness between stars, some things wait not to destroy us when awakened, but to show us how far we still have to go. As the Eternal Curiosity received its invitation to the summit, Selner couldn't help but feel that the ship had never been more aptly named. It was Eternal Curiosity, after all, that had driven both humans and Xerillians to reach for the stars. And now, perhaps it would drive them forward together. The Titan Network, once humanity's sleeping guardians, began powering down their weapons systems across the galaxy. Their new purpose awaited, not as warships but as bridges between civilizations that had once been enemies. One scan had changed everything. One moment of curiosity had rewritten the future, and in the light of that future, the darkness between stars seemed just a little less vast.